What if you can rewire your mind to create anything that you desire? Well, the truth is, you absolutely can. And today I'm going to show you exactly how. My name is Peter Abundant, aka Dr. Abundant, PhD, ordained minister of metaphysical sciences, which is the study of spirituality. I am also the author of The Enlightened Shadow and Spiritual Not Religious, both available on Amazon and Audible. Manifestation. What is manifestation? How does it work in this modern age? Well, let's start by saying that manifestation is not magic. It's in fact a process where your inner world creates your outer world, your outer experience, where your inner world, consciousness, the core of who you are, actually creates, radiates, expresses itself out through the world. Okay, so don't think of the outside world as something that's separate from you. It's in fact an expression of you. It is the reality you create by means of your consciousness, by means of your subconscious, your conscious mind, your unconscious, your ego. Those are various different degrees of expressions of who you are. And all of those things play a big role in how you see the world, what you do in the world, and the results that you get back, you see, and even how you even see those results. So essentially, you are creating your reality by way of your inner state of mind, your inner way of being, okay? It is ultimately your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, and especially your actions, really playing a very big role in shaping the reality you experience. Your thoughts, how you basically perceive and think about the world, your beliefs, what was told to you to believe, whether it be religious beliefs, whether it be beliefs about money, finances, health, genetics, weight, relationships, your beliefs about men and women, all of those things. Okay. And then they're backed by your emotions, because your emotions, though they may seem random, most times they are influenced by the thoughts you're having. They're influenced by the beliefs that you're having. And then when you are triggered to have an emotional reaction as a result of those beliefs and thoughts, those emotions then reinforce those beliefs and those thoughts. The emotions, I like to say, are energy in motion. And so the emotions really are the fuel that gets you to respond a certain way. And this is where we get into our actions. Now, if your thoughts tell you to have a certain emotional trigger, whether it be excitement, whether it be, focus, whether it be really wanting to pursue something like this desire to get things done, like you feel excited, you feel hyped, right? Those are what we will call usually ideal, great emotions, emotions of productivity, getting things done. But sometimes your thoughts, your beliefs will in fact create what we call negative emotions, anger, frustration, right? You're more reactive and you just do without really thinking about the potential consequences or what can come of this action. And then that leads you to a space of action that doesn't align with what you really want out of life. You see? So all these things play a pivotal role in what you create, essentially what you manifest. So you have to be really clear and understanding as to how those things influence and how manifestation shows up in your life. Manifestation is not something you just turn off and on. It's not something that you can simply say, you know what, I'm going to read a book on manifestation and I'm going to learn how to manifest things. The reality is you are a master at manifestation already. That is your divine right. That is your divine nature. That is who you are. Every single thing that you do, everything that you do, ultimately manifests something. It creates something. It is what science often calls cause and effect. So if you do something, there will be an effect. There will be some kind of an outcome by the ways of the universe and how that law works. And so manifestation is really a fancy word for that, you know, having a thought, taking action on that thought and that action actually creates some kind of, expression, right? Some kind of result. Now, the thing is with manifestation, we are mindful about it. We are intentional about it. And so your job is to recognize that you are a master at manifestation and then take ownership of the mechanism by which you do materialize things, you do manifest things. And that exactly is what we're getting into, you see. Now, in today's world, science is catching up to the truth of manifestation and the impact of your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, and your actions, and how they create your universe, your reality. Quantum physics shows us that reality is influenced by the observer. Who is the observer? You are. Now, when we say observer, we're talking about that aspect of yourself that is witnessing everything. The observer is a very deep title because really what you're understanding when you understand what it is to be an observer is that you are not the things. In other words, you are not your thoughts. You are not your beliefs. You are not your emotions. You are not your actions. You are the force, the entity, the consciousness that actually witnesses and observes yourself doing those things. This is why we say things like, I got mad or my arm hurts, right? Well, your arm is not you. It is your arm. So the aspect of you that says my arm hurts, or the aspect of you that says I am angry, I am excited, the I is the witness. The this is the expression, is the thing that you're witnessing, the thing that you're experiencing. And so now you get to understand, okay, well, these things are simply experiences, expressions of the I, expressions of consciousness. You see? So the observer is you at your very core. It isn't you by your name. It isn't you by your race, your gender, your sexual orientation, your religion. It is the core of all of those things. You see, it is you at the deepest level possible. This is what is called consciousness. Now, your intention and attention actually influences the outcomes on a very microscopic level. You see, this is how powerful you are. This is how powerful consciousness is. This is why I often say consciousness is the spark or expression, individualized expression of the divine intelligence, that which we often call God. And understand that there is a neuroplasticity, right, that's happening in the brain that is proven to change, right? Your brain is not locked in. So if you're somebody like me who's in their, late 40s, going on 50s and 60s, and if you're in your 70s, you have to understand that the brain does not stop developing. The brain does not stop, having the ability to change. Okay. An old dog can learn new tricks. You just simply have to understand the mechanism and how to actually program your mind to actually do the things you still desire and still wish to do. You see, your thoughts can be rewired to form new patterns, to form new behaviors, even new beliefs. So you're not locked into those beliefs that were given to you when you were a child, when you were a teenager, right? You're not locked into those patterns and those ways of thinking and how you approach relationships or how you dealt with money. You're not locked into the, negative responses of anger and frustration that you once identified with. You have to acknowledge that, yes, you can change. Change is possible. Change is something that is available to you. You just simply have to take ownership of the process and recognizing that you are really full potentiality, meaning you can actually achieve things beyond your imagination. You just simply have to recognize that there is a possibility outside of what you have already experienced. And it is okay. And I implore you, I invite you, I challenge you, if you're one of those people who like challenges, to really recognize that, you know what, you can change. I invite you to take on the challenge and be willing to put in the work to actually do so. So manifestation it's not about wishful thinking, right? It's simply about alignment. When your thoughts, when your beliefs, when your emotions and your actions match the reality that you want, manifestation becomes inevitable. Okay? Let me say that again. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, your actions, when they match the reality that you desire, that you want to live in, manifestation becomes inevitable. Now, for some of us, we really want to rush the process. We want it to happen tomorrow. We want it to happen a second ago. Now, I'm not going to say that that's not possible, but you have to ask yourself, is it possible? Is it something that you can obtain and achieve? If you truly feel like you can, then go for it. Give everything you got. Okay. But we've known that in this physical world, in this physical realm and reality, time is a factor. Okay. Now, in our minds, there is no concept of time. On the spiritual level, in the spiritual realm, in the spiritual plane, there is no time. But when we think about materialization, we think about, the sciences and the laws of the universe, the physical laws of the universe. Okay, time is a factor. So it is okay to consider time to some extent, but just do not be limited by that time. Do not give yourself, so much in terms of, okay, this is going to take me 5 and 10 years. That may be too much, right, to consider. You may not even have to even think about time, really. Just focus on the process of changing these beliefs that you're having, right? These patterns, these thoughts. So let's really get into identifying limiting beliefs, because now, we've talked about limiting beliefs. These are basically silent programs running in your subconscious mind. And they tell you things like, you're not enough. You can't have what you want. Okay. And success is for somebody else. That person, they did it because they're special and I'm not. Right. You may have a friend who's telling you, listen, I did this thing. I achieved this goal that you also want to achieve. This is how you do it. This is how I did it. And you may look to them and be like, yeah, but you're different. Yeah, you did it, but I can't do it. That isn't true. All right. I want you to really look at individuals not as competition, not as, separate entities, which they are, right? People are individuals. But as far as you're concerned, people are actually reflections of the self. They are reflections of you. Just like in your dreams, when you have dreams, some people believe dreams are basically you going to different dimensions and worlds. That may be the case. Me, I see dreams as events that are going on in the subconscious mind. Now, within your dreams, every single individual in your dream is essentially you. They're a version of you that looks like, acts like that person. The same thing applies in this physical world to a very, generalized degree. They are individuals, but as you see that person, you are truly seeing a part of yourself. When you exchange, when you look at that person, there are feelings, emotions, and thoughts that you have about that person. That is a reflection of you. That is things that you need to acknowledge for yourself. That is things that you need to embrace, that you need to learn from. So in other words, I know that for me, I've learned that if I see a person and for whatever reason, I don't feel like I like them, that they have a bad vibe about them, and I just want to avoid them, Now, I challenge myself because that is very far in between when I have those experiences. And I challenge myself to actually investigate. I actually go and speak with that person. I actually go and try to learn really what it is that has me a little uncomfortable, because there is something to be gained from that. There is some wisdom to get from that exchange and that experience. Sometimes the ego can recognize that and say, we don't like that person for whatever reason. We don't even like their face. So let's not go near them, because the ego recognizes the potential of change that can happen when you actually engage with that person. You know, think about maybe high school, when you're in, junior high school, middle school, you would not get along with a particular person, not like a particular person, maybe even have a fight with a particular person. And then the next day you have an exchange with them, you become the best of friends. And then you joke about it and say, listen, when I first saw you, I didn't like you. I thought you had an attitude. I thought you was all that, da, 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 da. But then you come to find out they're like your best friend. Okay. They're the person that you can trust. They're the person that you go to. They're the person that comes to you. Y'all do everything together. So this is what I'm talking about. When you recognize that, your ego is telling you don't exchange with another person, you have to simply ignore it. You have to push it aside, So you have to learn to recognize these programs in the subconscious mind. You have to recognize that, hey, is this true? And chances are, coming from the ego, if it's coming from a limited belief system, it is not true. Now, yes, there are some things that you are naturally talented in and some things that you may not be. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue them. It doesn't mean you shouldn't work on advancing and learning and getting better at that skill, you see, or that talent. You just simply recognize where your natural inclinations and abilities are. That's it, you see. So one of the things that I recommend when it comes to reprogramming your subconscious mind is journaling. Okay. And so a simple exercise is to take out a journal, write down 3 of your top desires, whether it be money, whether it be love, health, success, whatever success looks like to you. And what I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself, what do I really believe about my ability to have this? Now, here's the trick. Write down everything that comes up. Do not filter yourself. Remember, this is only for you. So I want you to really be truly honest and transparent with yourself, because honestly, you don't have a choice. Even if you try to avoid writing certain things down and seeing it consciously, guess what? Your subconscious and your unconscious still know the truth about what you feel about these things. And it's going to show up in your life. But when you do this exercise from a very authentic, very unfiltered space, and you see it consciously, right? You write it down from your subconscious and your unconscious, you see it consciously, then you have to address it right away. And the sooner you address it, the sooner you can heal from it, the sooner you can get over it, and the sooner you can actually achieve and get that thing that you desire. So write it down. This is basically your subconscious speaking to you, and you must see it clearly, before you can change it. So really be mindful about just putting it down as fast as you can, unfiltered, without thinking too much about it. Remember, this is just for you. You can write it, see it, tear it up, burn it so nobody else sees it afterwards. But it's important that you write it down and you see it for yourself. Then after that, you can get into doing any other work, because now you're clear as to what the issue is possibly for you when it comes to achieving and creating that thing that you desire. Now, reprogramming your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind controls about 95% of your daily life. 95% of your daily life. You think it's your conscious mind, the part of you that is listening to me right now, the part of you that is coming up with a conclusion as to what you're hearing, what resonates with you, the part of you that decides what to wear, the part of you that maybe when you meet somebody new, you're deciding what it is that you feel about them. Honestly, that is more a subconscious thing. You know, you may think some things are conscious, like when you go to the store and buy something, chances are you are buying the same thing. When you go get your coffee, you're getting the same coffee. It's the same thing over and over again. That is a subconscious thing. Whatever you wear, usually you probably kind of wear the same kind of things, subconscious, right? But as you are listening to me now, there are some subconscious things come up as far as your opinion of the way I sound, my voice, right? My tone, my grammar, you know, everything that's going on is being fluctuating back and forth between your conscious mind and your subconscious, but your subconscious is really directing your conscious mind. You're supposed to be using your conscious mind to analyze from a quote unquote objective point of view. I say quote unquote because really objectivity is really impossible coming from consciousness, coming from your own individuality. Even if you're looking at facts, you're still seeing it from a subjective point of view, but I digress. Now, the very important thing about this is since your subconscious controls 95% of your daily life, if you want to manifest something new, you have to speak the language of your subconscious. You have to really know how to communicate with your subconscious. And now we're going from really acknowledging and being in a space where we are coming from the conscious mind, which is intentional, right? To communicating directly to the subconscious. Because the conscious mind, you recognize, okay, there are things in your life that you wish to change. Financial situation, your love life, your health, right? There are things you want to change. You see that consciously. But subconsciously, you're still doing things that aligned with something else, which is resulting in the life that you currently have. Not to say that there's something wrong with the life that you currently have. That is for you to say. But the fact that you are wanting to change particular things means you're not feeling fulfilled at it. So you really want to learn how to speak consciously from the conscious mind to the subconscious so that way you program the subconscious to align with what you desire on a conscious level. You see? So 3 powerful tools. A classic one that you hear all the time and will always be because it is still one of the most powerful ways of programming your subconscious. Affirmations. Repeated, present tense, positive statements. I am rich. I am healthy. I, weigh, whatever your weight goal is. I am happy and joyful. I attract abundance and prosperity, right? More details can help. These are just generalized affirmations, but the generalized affirmations also have great power in them. And you repeat those as many times as you possibly can. I repeat affirmations in my head often. And it almost sounds like I have OCD or something like that because I'm constantly in my head repeating the statement over and over again. And it's a good practice for me because it keeps my mind focused. It keeps my intention toward maintaining, having a certain frequency. You see? The second thing, very popular, visualization. You want to mentally be rehearsing the life that you desire to live. Do not think that life is only for somebody else. Visualize, even if you see somebody else achieving the things that you desire, look at them as a model for what's possible for you. But visualize over and over the life that you want, the car that you want to drive. Even if you're getting into your old beat up car, visualize yourself getting into that brand new car that you desire. Now, visualize also that you are responsible and that with that car, you have the finances to comfortably maintain that car. You also have the finances to live in that house, that, apartment, what have you, that place that you want to live. So even if you are coming home and you're not a fan of your home currently, still visualize yourself going into that dream home. Visualize yourself going into that dream car. Visualize yourself getting in bed with your dream partner. Continue to visualize those things, because what that's doing, that is programming your subconscious mind. What that's doing is that is affirming in your mind a particular way of being, a standard, you see, and it is changing the frequency you are emitting out into the universe. And that frequency is what's going to actually attract and materialize those things to you. Now, finally, journaling. I mentioned journaling before. Gratitude journaling, though. You always want to be in a space of gratitude, feeling thankful now, right, for what your reality is and what reality is calling to you, right? Or you're calling to it. But you really want to make sure with gratitude journaling that you are at a space of recognizing, yes, even though you have that beat up car and you want a new one, you are grateful for the beat up car. Even though you live in that apartment or that house that you really don't like, you are grateful for that apartment and that house, right? Even if you're probably not in the best relationship, you still want to be grateful for especially the moments where you have a sense of joy and happiness in that relationship. Because guess what? That person still can be, right, your dream partner. It's really about captivating those moments of beauty, of vulnerability, of connection, where when you really take ownership and gratitude in those moments in that person and you express those things, it really touches them on a deep level, right? And then they can reciprocate that back to you. And then guess what can possibly happen? You'll both have a great dialogue, a great exchange of energy and love with one another, and you can cultivate that beautiful, amazing relationship that you've always wanted, but felt like you didn't have. And that's because you just wasn't putting yourself out there in a way that was coming from a place of gratitude, a place of love, you see? So you do these consistently, especially in the morning, before bed, right? The morning or before bed, because that's when your subconscious mind is most receptive, okay? The morning is my favorite time to do certain things because it just feels like I get to set the tone for the day. So I'm a big fan of doing things in the morning, even if you just take 5 minutes to do them, 5 minutes, you can say your affirmations, right? I say my affirmations 100 times. It's a lot quicker than you think, right? Say your affirmations 100 times. You can visualize as you are saying your affirmations, and then you can journal. Journal what you're grateful for when you wake up in the morning. Or sometimes I do my affirmations, my visualizations in the morning. As soon as I get up, I sit up in bed and I just sit there and make my statements and I visualize. And then in the evening before I go to bed is when I actually do my journaling. Okay. And the journaling is quick. It's a small book and I write just simply one page. Okay. So do that every single day. This is when your subconscious is listening the most, either in the morning or in the evening. Now, setting your intention and taking action is actually one of the most important things when it comes to manifestation, when it comes to reprogramming your subconscious mind. Now, if you're vague, then your results are going to be vague too. And it can be a little bit difficult to give you an example because you're coming from the things and desires that you have for yourself and your ways of thinking. But it's important to be clear, to be specific, to be emotionally charged intentionally, like, for example, this is a statement that I would make. I am creating $10,000 this month through aligned and joyful work. Okay. Now you can put in there the work that you do, to be more specific because, there are infinite ways to possibly make $10,000, but you want to do them, right? You want to make that $10,000 this month in a particular way. That is where the true fulfillment is, doing it in something that you actually enjoy doing. So be clear about that. Be specific when it comes to that. Okay. Now, simply after that, It's about taking action. Now, I'm not saying immediately just go out and make your 10,000 this month. What I'm saying is recognize that inspired action, even if it's on the smallest scale, it gives you, a sense of energy. It gives you a sense of energy toward your intention. Okay. Where you're not like forcing something to happen, but you're aligning with things. So you're just simply recognizing different opportunities. You're playing with what's going on around you and how the universe is responding to your thoughts, to your emotions, to your imagination, okay, to the visualization. And then you're just paying attention to what's showing up, right? Those are what I call synchronicities. They're showing up to give you signs. The universe is back and forth communicating with you in your conscious, subconscious, and unconscious, right? And then you're going back and forth in this communication, and the universe is just showing you, okay, these are the things that you can do. And you're just taking whatever steps are comfortable, but you have to take the steps. You have to be, intentional. You have to take action. You have to be willing to, just do something. And when you're doing something, it's not from a place of, oh God, I got to do something. No, it's from a place of, this is fun. This is what my body is meant to do. This is why we are here in this physical realm, to do something. It's fun. It's an activity, right? So try this. I want you to sit still, sit in stillness, and then connect with your desire. So the thing that you actually desire, love, money, health, success, what that looks like to you, visualize it as done. In other words, visualize your future self. Then ask, what's the one step that I can take today to move me toward this? And then you just simply do it. And then you just keep repeating that. Okay? Get still, connect with your desire, meaning visualize it, feel it as if it's done. Okay? And then ask yourself, okay, what's the one step that I can do today to get me closer toward this thing? And then just do it. And then just keep repeating that over and over and over and over again. Now, you may think that 1% is not significant. You may think that 0.5% is not significant. But over the course of time, eventually it accumulates into 100%. Which ultimately means the manifestation, the materialization of that desire. So you have to be intentional, you have to be consistent, and it will happen. Now, another great thing that you should do when it comes to programming your subconscious is building out a supportive manifestation ecosystem. Build a world, curate a world around you and your goal, your desire. You don't manifest in isolation, okay? It's impossible. We need interactions. We need exchanges. We need communication. We need a flow. We need relationships with you and the universe, with you and other people, you see? So your environment matters. All right. So you must surround yourself with people who uplift and believe in you, even if it's one person. And if you cannot find one person, books, content that supports your vision will do until you actually find people. Communities, mentors, right? They will keep you accountable. They will keep you dialed in. They will keep you focused. All of those things will, in fact, if you don't have all three, one of them will create the third or the second, and then that will create the third. So if you say to yourself, well, I don't know people who are uplifting and believe in me. I don't have a community. I don't have mentors. Well, you have access to the internet. You have access to books. You have access to content that support you, aligns with your vision. Continue to consume, submerge yourself into creating a world for you and this desire and this dream. Then you will start to learn about different communities, different people, different groups, different events. You go there, You simply just chill. You may not even have to engage and talk to anybody. People may just come and talk to you if you're an introvert, and that's fine. You can just simply continue to go to those events and just simply be in the vibe, absorb the energy, the frequency, with the intention of using it practically toward your desire. Okay. Whether it's a mastermind group, a group chat, weekly coaching, find a support system. Okay. The people around you influence your frequency. Think about it. The people around you influence your frequency. If you are somebody who has a family of negative people, you feel it, right? You feel it, especially if you meet up with them on holidays, especially if you live with them every single day and you feel depressed and you feel sad, you feel frustrated, you feel angry. You look around, that's because mainly everybody else around you feels that way as well. So make sure people around you, the environment around you matches your vision, matches your desire, matches your dream. And this essentially is the complete guide to how you reprogram your subconscious mind and direct that subconscious mind, direct your conscious mind, direct your unconscious mind to actually create the things that your consciousness is actually leading you to create and materialize. This is a simple, basic format that will be very impactful and give you all that you need to create the life that you desire. So what I ask you to do now is in the comment section below, I want you to write, I'm programming. Actually write, I'm reprogramming for abundance. I'm reprogramming for abundance. I'm reprogramming for abundance. Thank you so much. Make sure, share this video with somebody who needs it, because many of us do. Please feel free to go to drabundant.com, subscribe to my daily newsletter, and get access to this free ebook, The Power Within, and so much more. Continue to join me on this journey. Peace and abundance always.